The 76ers' lengthy run on the road continues. Dwight Howard and the squad down south in New Orleans. Making the stride and walk to the bus, Danny Green. I dig it. And Ben Simmons helping lead the 76ers into action tonight. It will be a big test, you would think, in the Big Easy against one of the best, brightest young big men in the NBA today, Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans. Welcome to 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot. I'm Brian Seltzer. Always great to be joined by Lauren Rosen. The 76ers continuing this 4-game road trip tonight. It got off to a great start on Tuesday with a nice win over the Boston Celtics, 106-96. And then even though this is a continuous stretch, Lauren, of games on the road for the Sixers, they actually came back home for about 36 hours to spend Wednesday. They left yesterday, and now they continue on, beginning a stretch of 3 games in 4 days. New Orleans, OKC, Dallas, then coming home.
Lots of time on the road, Celts. 20 days out of these 23 days are being spent on the road. You mentioned they had a quick stop at home, a rare opportunity to practice. And yeah, next few days are going to be interesting for this team. 3, I'd say, winnable games, but also 3 that could pose some challenges for this team. So looking forward to plenty of basketball in store over the next few days.
The 76ers in the midst of this stretch in which they're playing 10 out of 12 games on the road. Over 20 of their 23 days during this stretch on the road. Listen, I thought it was a great performance on the road. TD Garden Tuesday, knocking off the Boston Celtics pretty convincingly. The Sixers led by as much as 21 points in that game. Boston was not at full strength. The 76ers were at full strength. But still, I thought the Sixers had their way, and they showed the strength that they have in terms of personnel, at least in that matchup with how the Celtics are currently constructed.
Yeah, sweeping that regular season series against the Celtics. Joel Embiid, of course, back for the second time since he missed 10 games. And Celtics, we've talked about it a couple times, but he had 35 in this game against Boston, and that actually lowered his average against the Celtics this season, which is just crazy if you think about it. Danny Green has also just been so good lately. You just saw him sink one, and it feels like every time he throws it up, Celtics, it's going in. Similarly to this guy, Tobias Harris.
I think everyone probably, as far as the takeaway is concerned from the game on Tuesday, we're looking at this guy, Joel Embiid, and some of the big lines he put up. We'll get to that in a little bit. Some strong play on the interior we saw in that dunk right there by Embiid. The 76ers defense, despite us showing you scoring plays right here, 76ers defense, Lauren, was a big reason why they came out on top.
No doubt about that. This is a team that was leading the league defensively even before Joel came back into the fold. And I actually learned a thing or two on Tom's talks today with Matisse Thybulle, talking about the way the defense does change considerably when Joel is on the court. And of course, you would assume as much, but it was interesting to hear a player break it down. But yes, Celts, the defense really led the way here, as it has been all season.
In particular, I thought the Sixers did a great job keying in on the 3 main threats that Boston currently has in its lineup. We're talking about Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, and Jaylen Brown. Tatum put up a lot of shots, but he didn't get many opportunities to, Lauren, drive it inside. Kemba somewhat subdued. And Jaylen Brown, even though, if you look at his final line, he shot efficiently, he didn't get a lot of opportunities, and I thought that was as important as anything.
Yeah, they did a great job with those 3 who have been threatening to the Sixers since they got together. And we certainly saw it in last season's playoffs, but the Celtics really have no match for these Sixers when Joel Embiid is available, when Tobias Harris is playing the way that he has. There's no way to stop the big fella. And Ben Simmons got involved, as he usually does in these types of big games. A really exciting one, a really good 2-way performance across the board from this Sixers team.
We're seeing third quarter highlights right here. And I thought Ben was really good in the third quarter. He scored 6 of his 12 points in the period. And I thought he gave the 76ers a nice little shot in the arm and really helped them seize control of the game. That dunk by Embiid there, one of the best plays in the game, perhaps of the season. Just all in all, very complete performance as the hand team You see, comes up with the basketball, unselfish Ben Simmons, finding Tobias Harris, who had a 10-point, 8-rebound, 4-assist, 2-steal game. But you mentioned, Lauren, Joel Embiid, the big man, 35 points, 6 boards, 16 of 20 from the free throw line. There was the anecdote after the game. He and Doc Rivers talking about whether or not Joel Embiid was back. I think Doc seemed to think so. Joel said that he was back, but then he also said some things that would make you think that maybe he doesn't feel he's fully back. He seemed pretty much back.
I think if Joel says he's back, he's back. But even Joel at his best has talked about areas to improve. And he did that following this one. He said those 4 missed free throws, even though he got to the line an astounding 20 times, he was thinking about those 4 misses after the game. I love the way he talks about free throws because he says they're free. And he missed out on some free opportunities in this one. But of course, hard on himself. This is a big man who's shooting well over 80% from the free throw line and doing it with so much ease. Seltz, it's really interesting to see a 7-footer getting to the line and then being successful from the line the way that Joel has been this year.
Listen, the astounding and incredibly crazy thing about Joel Embiid is that he can put up 35 points and 6 rebounds. And if you parsed it through, you could make the case that, yeah, he still has some room to get some rhythm back. I think, listen, he did some damage on the wing. We see that scoring right here. Had a couple turnovers, 4 in the game. To me, that's the most exciting part about Joel. He seems to continually raise the bar, raise the ceiling for what we expect of him. And I think that the more he obviously gets under his belt, coming back off that left knee bone bruise, the better he's going to be. He can shoot it. He can pass out of the coverage that comes to him. Just really excited about this matchup in particular tonight, featuring Joel.
Absolutely, Seltz. This is one that, of course, the Sixers aren't going to get to play the Pelicans all that many times ever, especially this year. Well, I guess the same amount of times this year as in other years. But always cool to see an Eastern team and a Western team match up when the matchup is as interesting as this one could certainly be tonight.
It is the first time that Joel Embiid and Zion Williamson will be on the same court with one another. Zion has never played the 76ers. He was a rookie last year. He's a first-time All-Star this year. We'll dive into that a little bit later on. But right now, let's hear from Joel Embiid. What did he think about his performance Tuesday in Boston?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not all the way there, but tonight was a big step, especially from going from the Minnesota game. Like I said, going into these games and stuff, I hadn't really gotten any 5-on-5, so that Minnesota game was a little raw for me. Going up and down. Tonight, I felt better, but I still got a long way to go before I get back to where I was before I got hurt.
Is Bend Your Knees the official anthem of the 2020-21 76ers?
I think at this point it has to be. I don't know. It must have taken on a life of its own within the locker room. Bend Your Knees, of course, referring to Dwight Howard's new little theme song or jingle that I understand he got from Sam Cassell when practicing his free throws. And apparently it's been working. These guys are sinking some free throws, and when they do, they always do seem to bend their knees. So.
Tremendous. Love it. Didn't he sing it again today?
He sure did.
I'm all for it. More Dwight singing, the better.
I'm all about it as well. Dwight has been nothing but a joy, especially when he's doing his, karaoke performance at the media podium.
We know Dwight was obviously a Los Angeles Laker last year, won a title. Danny Green won his 3rd. I think Danny's shooting the ball so well right now. He's in a real groove. Here's some numbers from what he did against the Boston Celtics. He's just been one of the most efficient shooters in the league and productive shooters in the league to add to that since the All-Star break.
And doing so late in games. Luckily against the Celtics, he didn't really need to, but he's hit some really big shots, especially when Joel was away. And how comforting is it to know that Danny might not even be one of the primary sources of offense that this team relies on. Maybe primary, but not necessarily the guy that needs to be making those big shots at the end of the game, but he's proven that he can be that guy when the team needs him. The Danny Green experience has been a great one so far this season.
Danny spoke after the game on Tuesday. He's now made 54 threes since the All-Star break, shooting 49% from 3 since the break. And he talked about the rhythm that he was in following the victory.
I wouldn't say the rim gets bigger, but you definitely feel more of a rhythm. You feel more in rhythm. I think the pace that we play at, it allows me to get and feel a good rhythm. And the fact that Joe draws double teams and gets it out, and we move it pretty well. But the more you make a shot, the more you feel better. The more, I guess, you have to do less techniques, because you're in a good flow, a good feel, and the rim, I guess it naturally gets bigger because it feels like everything you throw up goes in. But it's just more so you have a good feel for it, and kind of keep the same repetition. And most times if you're struggling, you have to make sure your mechanics are right. But when you're hot, you hit one or two, then it's like, let me just get it up and get to the rim. It's more of a heat check thing.
No doubt. And this is obviously, I don't think we're spilling any secrets here. This was part of the vision. This is why you trade for someone like a Danny Green. You acquire someone like a Seth Curry. You build through Joel Embiid, and these guys are premier shooters as it was. But the fact that Joel commands so much attention is just going to, what they say about the rising tide, it lifts everybody up.
Yes, indeed. Danny has been getting open. His teammates are really knowing how to find his spots. And like you said, when Joel Embiid is out there, he can probably find those spots a little easier than your average three-point shooter. It's been a pleasure to watch Danny get to know his teammates and capitalize off of the opportunities that they've given him.
We should say, if you're not aware of this out there, Danny Green hosts his own. We like to talk a lot about podcasts here on 7-6 Live Countdown, presented by Tissot. But Danny has his own pod, Inside the Green Room, co-hosts it with a guy he's known since high school, Harrison Sanford. It's great. Dr. J is the guest this week. Daryl Morey was the guest last week. You can listen to it, or you can watch it on NBC Sports Philadelphia if you're in the Delaware Valley. That's pretty cool.
No doubt about it. He is a multi-talented guy, Danny Green. Not just Mr. Three Rings. He's Mr. Podcast. He's Mr. Team Building. Seltz, another guy who's big into that team building is Dwight Howard, who we mentioned earlier. The two former teammates have been huge for this team. I checked in with Dwight about the chemistry that he's been fostering and about facing off with Zion for the first time this season earlier today. Dwight, getting ready to play sort of a young phenom like Zion Williamson, what's that like for you as a veteran in this league? Do you think you can get an edge mentally? What do you think about when you get ready to play someone like that?
Oh, man, just trying to get my rest. He got those young, fresh legs, and, he wants to run and play all day. So just for me, just trying to get my mind, my mind and my body ready for, the kind of, I would say, the speed battle tonight. He's a quick player. He gets up and down the floor. This team is very young, so they're very well coached. So looking forward to playing against Zion tonight. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's very exciting. I would say he's kind of like Zach Randolph and Charles Barkley mixed, almost. Yeah.
I like that comparison, Dwight. When we talked to Mason Jones yesterday and George Hill as well, they both said that as new players on this team, it's very clear that the chemistry is really strong, that it's been a welcoming environment for them. The fact that they had those takes, what do you think that does say about the team's chemistry right now?
Oh, it's great. We got to continue to be that way. We got to continue to build chemistry with each other. But the love is here. We all want to win. We love each other as brothers, as teammates, and we want nothing but the best for each other. So bringing in a guy like George Hill and Mason Jones, one guy who's been in the league for a while. He's been on a lot of teams. He's seen a lot of different things. And then for Mason Jones, it been his first year. He's had to experience being with the Rockets, Houston and on the West Coast, and now coming to an East Coast team, and just the camaraderie and stuff like that. It's just great for these guys to see. And, I'm very happy that we have those guys on the team.
Awesome. Thanks, Dwight. Good luck tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It was cool to hear from Mason Jones yesterday, actually, Seltz. We haven't gotten to know him that well. Of course, he's only been on that two-way contract for a couple weeks now with the Sixers, but he cited Dwight Howard as someone who's really taken him under his wing early. The two of them don't necessarily have that much overlap when it comes to what they'll be relied upon in the course of their careers, but cool to hear that Dwight has been such a leader for every player that's been a part of this lineup this season.
Now it's Mason Jones. It was also B-Ball Paul. That is really encouraging and heartening to hear that Dwight doing his duty both on the court and off. We'll give you a little programming tease for tomorrow's edition of 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot. Yesterday, we also heard from George Hill for the first time as a 76er. So we'll play some of the sound from George Hill and his introductory media availability over Zoom tomorrow on 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot. We can spoil a little bit right here. Listen, on the surface, Lauren said all the right things, and he feels like he's going to be back sooner rather than later. I feel that's probably the thing the fans care most about, and understandably so. Didn't seem rattled by the return for him from his thumb injury, but just open to anything. Seems like a guy who's willing to do whatever it is, literally, that the team asked him to do.
Yeah, he said he's ready to buy into the system, to buy into whatever Doc Rivers and his staff need from him. Says it doesn't matter if he's playing 15 minutes a night, 30 minutes a night, starting, coming off the bench. George Hill is a veteran that's been in almost every situation in this league, and he's looking forward to being in any situation that he can help this Sixers team in as soon as he is ready and available.
As far as help and the 76ers are concerned, you think they're going to need some help against Zion Williamson tonight and the New Orleans Pelicans, a team that, Lauren, I know the West is good. I'm actually a little, maybe I shouldn't be surprised that they're 22-29. Their defense is not particularly good, but looking at their roster, there are intriguing pieces there. I could see a way that perhaps they could be a better team than 7 games under 500. Now, Lonzo Ball's not playing tonight. Brandon Ingram is in, but they have Zion. They have Steven Adams in the front court. They have Eric Bledsoe, whom they got from the Milwaukee Bucks. So there are some intriguing pieces there, but it really all starts as far as interest with Zion.
I think when you look at a team like the Pelicans, you don't want to count them out of any game, as you don't really with any NBA team. But I hear you, Seltz. I think maybe they are underperforming just a little bit this year. You have to wonder how much Drew Holiday leaving the team or getting traded, how much that could play into their overall record. It'll be interesting to see Brandon Ingram tonight. He's obviously been out for a bit. So you have to wonder, is their record necessarily indicative of how good they are? I do not know. We obviously have not played, the Sixers have not played the Pelicans yet this season. I am looking forward to seeing what they have to offer.
They have a veteran coach in Stan Van Gundy on the other side. His first season with New Orleans, they brought in a new general manager, David Griffin. In the offseason, they traded J.J. Redick at the deadline to the Dallas Mavericks. So they're trying to strike the balance, it seems like, in terms of developing a core right now, while also still acquiring pieces. And I think it's just exciting. Exciting if you're a fan of the league, that you have two of the best, I was going to say big men on the planet, but probably maybe two of the most dynamic, different players on the planet, who both also happen to be very large guys in Joel and Zion on the court at the same time. I'm not convinced, Lauren, that we're going to see a ton of one-on-one action between the two of them, because the Pelicans also have Steven Adams, a rugged interior big man, but you would have to think at least on a couple of occasions, and I could be wrong, that we will get some Zion, Joel one-on-one.
Well, I think at least to see the two of them share the court, both possessing such unique skills and having the potential to be as dominant as each of them are, I look forward to seeing them match up, whether or not they necessarily match up one-on-one, like you said. Just seeing them share the court, I think, is going to be exciting. Zion, of course, one of the league's fastest rising stars, but I'd say the same about Joel Embiid. I know he's a few years older, but he still appears to be on the rise in this league. So a lot of parallels between these two, and I'm looking forward to checking it out in just over an hour.
I mean, look at how massive that guy is. It's insane. It's a good thing that Doc Rivers said he's going to put his defensive specialist, Seth Curry, on Zion tonight.
I loved that. Doc Rivers not afraid to throw in a little bit of a twist there in the media availability, maybe joke a little bit tongue-in-cheek about putting Seth Curry on Zion Williamson to start this one out tonight. But before we get further into the matchup on Zion, I think, Seltz, that it's time, as I check out my Tissot PR100, which makes me feel very sophisticated. Love this watch. Thank you, Tissot. Yes. I think it might be time for keys to the game.
Let's do it. I know that Tissot does not lie when it comes to keys to the game. If it says that's what the time is, that's what the time is.
And I believe I'm going to go first. Oh,
okay,
sure.
Yeah, you go first.
Let's do it.
Go first. Yeah, you go first. No.
Okay.
No, you go first. You.
Okay. If I must. We just talked about my key to the game. I said all-star defense. We've heard that Tobias Harris should probably have been an all-star this season. So I'll put him in the group with Ben and Joel. Ben, Joel, and Tobias, Doc Rivers said, will probably share the responsibilities of guarding Zion Williamson, who we just talked about. If you can keep him out of that 26.3 points per game range, keep him lower than what he averages, he's this team's biggest weapon. If the three of them can shut him down together, that all-star defense could be winning material for the 76ers.
Yes, I cannot wait. I am really looking forward. There's a part of me that wants to see more Ben Zion than Joel Zion, at least when the Sixers defend. I mean, listen, I think what an awesome test for a guy in Ben Simmons that people are talking about, and rightfully so, Defensive Player of the Year conversations.
I'm with it. Seltz, what do you got?
Turn? I have got find the water, go to the Gulf, and drink from the land of three-point territory. This Pelicans defense is the worst in the league defending the three. They give up the most threes. They allow the opponents to shoot the highest percentage from three. So go to the Gulf. I don't know if it's potable, but drink. Get thirsty from three-point territory. Fire away when the opportunity presents itself. It's not to say go away from Joel and your bread and butter, but I think that there should be some opportunities for the Sixers. No Lonzo Ball tonight, so that takes away a starting backcourt defender. Could be some opportunities for the Sixers from the perimeter.
We mentioned Seth as a defender. He also happens to be pretty good from three, so I like that key. Seltz.
Yes. There you have it. Our Tissot keys to the game, presented by the one and only Tissot. Stylish, Swiss, affordable, accurate keys to the game. Tissot does it all. It does it all.
They sure do. Thank you as always, Tissot.
For us to plug before we leave, new episode of the Friday Deep Dive from the 76ers Podcast Network is out. We play our favorite game that I think we're going to retire called Answer or Samesies. I forgot how to lead that discussion, so if you want to try and figure out what it's all about, you can listen. That came out today. And like Lauren referenced earlier, Matisse Thybulle and Tom McGinnis, two of the greats.
No doubt about it. And they got pretty nitty gritty on that one. Seltz really broke down some of what makes Matisse so special. I loved hearing the two of them chop it up, talk X's and O's. So definitely check it out.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow when the 76ers take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And you might remember this game originally scheduled for the first half of the season, but due to health and safety protocols, they moved it now to the back end. 76ers against Zion Williamson and the Pelicans. Enjoy the game tonight. We will talk to you tomorrow.